I had affair with sister's husband. When I was teen, so parents kicked me out, and years later, mom contacts. My sister's wedding dress was still warm from her vows when I ruined everything. At 17, I thought I was in love with her new husband, and he let me believe it. By the time the truth unraveled, I was on the street, my parents' screams echoing in my ears. It was 2005, and I was a reckless teenager in a small Ohio town where gossip spread faster than wildfire. My name is Ellie, and back then, I was the wild one, dyed purple hair, ripped jeans, and a smirk that dared the world to judge me. My older sister, Clara, was the golden child, poised, perfect, the kind of daughter who made my parents beam. When she married Tom, a charming mechanic with a crooked smile, everyone said they were the perfect couple. I saw something else in Tom's eyes when he looked at me, a flicker of danger that made my heart race. It started innocently enough. He'd linger after family dinners, offering to fix my beat-up skateboard or teasing me about my music taste. I was flattered, craving attention I never got at home. One night, after Clara went to bed early, Tom and I stayed up in the garage, passing a bottle of cheap whiskey he'd stashed. The air was thick with summer heat, and his hand brushed mine as he handed me the bottle. I didn't pull away. That was the first mistake. By the time Clara caught us, her husband and her little sister tangled in the back seat of his truck parked behind the old mill. She didn't scream. She just stood there, her face crumpling like tissue paper, and I felt my world collapse. I was 17, stupid, and thought I was in love. Tom swore it was a one-time thing, but the damage was done. Clara's silence was louder than any words. My parents didn't hesitate. "Get out," my father said, his voice cold as steel. My mother couldn't even look at me. By morning, I was on a bus to nowhere with a backpack and $50. For years, I drifted. I waited tables in Chicago, crashed on couches in Seattle, and learned how to survive on my own. Every night, I'd lie awake, replaying Clara's broken expression, my parents' disgust, and Tom's cowardice. I hated him, but I hated myself more. I'd been a kid, manipulated by a man who knew better, yet I carried the blame like a scar. I wrote letters to Clara, dozens of them, but never sent a single one. What could I say? Sorry I broke your marriage. Sorry I was too young to know better. The words felt hollow. 10 years later, I was 27, working as a barista in Portland, trying to piece together a life. I'd learned to keep people at arm's length. No one got close enough to hurt me again. Then, out of the blue, my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in a decade. Mom. My heart stopped. I let it go to voicemail, hands shaking. Her voice was softer than I remembered, tinged with something I couldn't place: regret. "Maybe Ellie. It's me. I, I'd like to talk. Please call me back." I didn't call back. Not that day or the next. But the message haunted me. Why now? What did she want? I spent nights spiraling, imagining Clara's life. Did she forgive Tom? Did she have kids? Was she happy? And my parents, had they softened? Or was this some trap to drag me back into their judgment? I wasn't that reckless teenager anymore, but the shame still clung to me like damp clothes. A week later, another call. This time, I answered. "Ellie," Mom said, her voice cracking. "Your father's sick. He doesn't have long." The words hit like a punch. She didn't mention Clara or Tom, just asked me to come home. I wanted to say no, to protect the fragile life I'd built, but something in her voice, a tremor of desperation, pulled me back. The bus ride to Ohio felt like stepping into a time machine. The town hadn't changed, same cracked sidewalks, same nosy neighbors peering through curtains. When I walked up to my childhood home, Mom was waiting on the porch, her hair grayer, her eyes tired. She hugged me, and I froze, unprepared for the warmth. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and I didn't know if she meant for Dad's illness or for throwing me out all those years ago. Inside, Dad was a shadow of the man I remembered, frail and hooked to an oxygen tank. He looked at me, and for the first time, there was no anger in his eyes, just a quiet sadness. "Ellie," he rasped, "we were wrong. I wanted to scream, to demand why they chose Clara over me, why they let me drown in my mistakes. But I just sat there, holding his hand, feeling the weight of a decade's worth of silence. Clara wasn't there. Mom said she'd moved to California after the divorce. Divorce. The word stung. Tom had left her too. A year after I'd gone, he'd cheated again, with someone else. Clara rebuilt her life, Mom said, but she hadn't spoken to me since that night. I asked if she'd ever forgive me. Mom's eyes dropped. She's trying, she said, but it sounded like a prayer, not a promise. Over the next weeks, I stayed. I helped Mom with Dad, cooked meals, and sat through awkward silences that carried years of unspoken pain. One night, Mom pulled out an old photo album. There we were, Clara and me as kids, laughing in a sprinkler, our parents smiling behind us. "We failed you," Mom said, tears falling. "We were so ashamed. We didn't know how to handle it. We thought kicking you out would fix things, but it broke us all. I wanted to hate her, to hate them both, but I couldn't. I'd spent years blaming myself, but sitting there, I saw the truth. We were all victims of a moment that spiraled out of control. Tom was the spark, but our family's pride, our inability to face the mess, was the fuel. I wasn't innocent, but I wasn't the only one who'd failed. Dad passed a month later. At the funeral, I saw Clara. She stood across the room, her face unreadable. I wanted to run to her, to beg for forgiveness, but I stayed rooted, afraid of her rejection. After the service, she approached me. "Ellie," she said, her voice steady but soft, "I don't hate you anymore. I needed time. We didn't hug or cry or have some movie-perfect reconciliation, but she gave me her number, and that was enough for now." Back in Portland, I started writing to Clara not apologies, but real letters about my life, my regrets, my hopes. She hasn't written back yet, but I keep sending them, hoping one day she'll respond. I've learned that forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a slow, messy journey. My parents' mistakes, my mistakes, Tom's betrayal, they don't define us, but they shape us. I'm still learning who I am without the weight of that night. What do you think? Can a family heal after a betrayal like this? Should I keep reaching out to Clara or give her more time? Share your thoughts. Into them.